Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Cone Dodger here. Welcome to another installment of Cone on the Road. Today we're doing just some vlogging about topics and things that have been going around the news surrounding myself and just the world here recently. Of course, most prominently here recently is the fact that being a Florida resident, there was some concern about if I was okay and if everybody I know was okay from the storm, Hurricane Irma. I am fine, and everybody that I personally know, all my family and extended, friends around Florida, it seems everybody has managed to get through the storm with either no major issues or just minimal damage, nothing too severe. There are people very close to me, and certainly some acquaintances I have that were pretty strongly affected by the storm, mostly due to flooding, not so much the hurricane wind force and crazy stuff like that. I've lived in Florida now for 25 years, and it's certainly not the first hurricane I've ever experienced. Certainly one of the strangest. I'm very fascinated by the weather. I'm very fascinated by meteorology in general. It's one of the things I somewhat wish I would have studied in school. However, I know that kind of learning is not really my strong suit, so I probably wouldn't have gone anywhere anyway, but it doesn't stop me from still being very interested in it. I do study it. I do as much research into these kind of things as I can. And one of the important things, I think, is that I avoid mainstream media's representation of things like this because of the way news media is structured in our world right now, where it's not so much about making sure society gets the information they need, it's making sure that advertisers get as much revenue as they possibly can, or the media company gets as much revenue from advertisers. The advertisers are happy, and that gives you a skewed perspective on things, and especially with things like the hurricane. It leads to a lot of unnecessary fear, and there was certainly a lot of that going around with Irma. And I'm not here to say that hurricanes aren't scary and that hurricanes aren't something you should worry about, but it's a much different thing than is usually portrayed. So if you're going to get your information about things like this from the news, from media, you gotta take your opinions from multiple sources. You have to gather your information from multiple sources and do your best to make out of that information some kind of consensus. Otherwise, you're going to be misinformed. That's just the way it is. With this one, like I said, this was a very strange hurricane. I've personally never seen one take a path like this one did, and there were some scenarios where if the hurricane did this particular scenario, I would have been screwed. Like the area that we live in would have been pretty much devastated. But the chances of those paths happening are very minimal. I understand the basic principles of what steers these things. There's a jet stream off the coast of Florida that, if they go to the Atlantic, really impacts their path, and that it has to do with the high pressure systems in the Atlantic versus the low pressure and high pressure systems out over the continental US, and all of these things play factors. So you get a huge variance in models as to what these storms can do based on what those are doing. Unfortunately, people will see a model that looks real bad and is bad for a particular area, and because they see that, they're going to take that and they're going to say, well, this is the worst case scenario, this could happen. Unfortunately, that creates a lot of panic, and that creates a lot of unnecessary worry. And again, I'm not saying people shouldn't be prepared, but you need to know what to prepare for. And unfortunately, in my personal area, there was a lot of over-preparation and panic that led to a worse situation than it really needed to. What really needed to happen in my area was make sure the people that are in floodplains know they need to get out of here or they need to get to higher ground. Because Florida is flat, Florida is mostly below sea level in many places, and if you're in a flood zone, you're in trouble. And if you don't know your flood zone, if you don't know how the water reacts around you, there's creeks, there's rivers, there's obviously the St. Johns River, which is a very strange river in general. And if you don't have history in the area, you don't know, then you need to just be safe and go to higher ground. But if you're on high ground, you're in nowhere near a flood zone, you're nowhere near a floodplain, then doing unnecessary things is just going to hurt everybody. And by unnecessary things, I mean, buying 60 cases of water and every piece of plywood you can buy and stuff like that. It's just unnecessary, and unfortunately causes many more issues than the actual hurricane. As it started to really pinpoint on a place, it really pinpointed on South Florida. That's very good grounds to be very concerned. You need to get out of that area ASAP. If a Category 5 hurricane is off the coast, you gotta leave. Now, a lot of people in to do with the Houston deal wanted to know, well, why didn't these people leave? If it was going to be this bad, if it was going to flood this bad, why didn't they mandatory evacuate this place? The problem lies there. Try evacuating an entire city like Houston in the maybe 36 hours they had to prepare for that. It would have been chaos. You would have had cars stuck on the highway, cars stuck on side roads and stuff during a flood, and that's a terrible situation. So I guess what really gets me is that they try to sell these things as an event, and they try to sell these things as, we're here to save you, we're here to protect you. But in reality, they can't do that. All they can do is give you the proper information. All I need to know, what's the path, what's the strength, and what's the most likely scenario. That's all I need to know. And I used that information to determine that I was personally in a good place, a safe place. It was going to be a mild inconvenience because the power was going to go out and all that kind of stuff. But overall, knowing my structure, knowing where I am, knowing how far inland I am, that the chances of it being a very bad, catastrophic event for me were very low. There's still a chance something could go wrong, yeah. That's Florida. I mean, we get some massive, severe thunderstorms here that come through in an instant, and one of those could be as destructive as a squall line from a hurricane very easily. So, I don't know, it's one of those things. You can't, life is not something you can just wrap up in bubble wrap and make everything safe. Panicking and traveling, north to get away from a hurricane like that might save you from the hurricane, but could very easily end you up in a massive accident on the highway as crazed people running from the hurricane try to escape it. But at the end of the day, I'm safe, my family's safe, my friends are safe. I was very worried about Justin, and I was very closely monitoring how the storm was reacting in regards to him, because he just moved down here. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, HC Justin, Twitch personality, friend of the Mindcrackers. Yeah, he just moved down here. He moved down Central Florida, but he's in one of those, this is a Florida thing, there's like these older retirement areas, not like retirement homes, but just areas where the old people go in Florida. And they're in a lot of these modular houses or even mobile homes and stuff like that. And a lot of those houses are not as safe for hurricanes as, a modern structured house. And yeah, I was a little concerned about him down there and being closer to where the hurricane would be making landfall. Yeah, it's certainly very, very concerning, and I was really monitoring it and trying to make sure, I could give him as good information as I could, because, I know he's new to the area, but even he ended up being okay. He was able to stay. even if you have to stay, you know, the area opens up shelters for you to go to if you really need to. So yeah, I think he handled it very well, and even though it took him forever to get his power back and all that stuff, everything was fine. I managed to only lose power for about 15 hours, which isn't too bad. The linemen and electric company people that work on the power grid after things like this are pretty incredible. Like the speed and efficiency that they work to get power back is pretty great. Even if it took a week, the amount of damage by trees and by flooding is pretty unbelievable for a storm, even as weak as that one ended up being by the time I got here. But it's cool, we're all fine. Thanks everybody for your concern and making sure, checking in that everybody was okay. What we gotta hope for around here is no more. If there was any tropical storms or very big rain events in this area anytime soon, that's when we would be in trouble, because the rivers that are around us hit new highs, like new record highs during the storm. Any more significant rainfall would be pretty bad for us. So we just gotta hope that they hold off for a little while. For me personally, the biggest frustration I have here recently is the fact that unfortunately I am currently not able to stream at all, and that is due to some kind of failure in the internet infrastructure in Florida, in North Florida specifically, that is happening. And Comcast, who is my internet provider and is the only available internet provider, is unable to do anything about it for the time being. They are unwilling to admit that anything is wrong currently. But if you saw, I tried to do the F1 2017 season as a Twitch live stream series, and that was pretty much the peak of the failure rate. We're seeing 20-minute like pauses in service, but what's strange is my internet is fine, everything seems to be working, but I can't stream. I cannot get a solid connection to the stream upload. It's not affecting my gameplay, like it doesn't affect my voice communication in Discord. It doesn't affect like when I'm playing PUBG and things like that. Nothing else is affected except for streaming, and it's very bizarre. I've tried tons of suggestions. Everyone's, you know, been pitching in to try and work on the issue, but nothing so far has made any effect on it. I tried buying my own modem and router. That looked like it was going to work, but it was actually just, you know, a 24-hour period where this issue wasn't happening. And there's been other little glimpses of hope where it will work for a few hours and then just nothing for days on end. It's extremely frustrating because I was so proud of the fact, after all the time of kind of fumbling with live streaming, I felt like we were finally starting to make some progress there. I felt like people were actually starting to enjoy and be engaged in those streams, and yoink, there it goes. no longer have the ability. So as that's been happening, I've been focusing all of my efforts on video content because it's what I got, it's what I can do. And I apologize for it. I hope that someday that gets better, and I'm not kidding. I am willing to do crazy things to make that happen, including up to moving, because it's just that frustrating to me. I'm very, very disappointed that I'm not getting to keep that momentum. But it's unfortunately out of my hands. I've had many gross, disgusting conversations with Comcast Tech, and they simply do not care about the words coming out of my mouth, because everything on their end shows I have no problem, and I'm just some crazy guy that doesn't know what he's talking about. There's zero indication from their side that anything is wrong. So F1 2017 moved over to just YouTube for the time being. Hopefully things improve. Hopefully it gets fixed. I'm not super hopeful about it, but it is what it is. It is very frustrating, however, that we can't do that on Twitch. And I've always kind of questioned whether or not I even ever wanted to be a Twitch streamer. I never felt like I was nearly as good of a streamer as I pretend I am a video maker. But like I said, I just felt like things were starting to come around there. And more than anything, I hate to bore people with business. It's a very good business decision too, because there's no need for me to go into how much YouTube is destroying the ability for people to make a living making YouTube videos, and overall just how the industry in general on the YouTube front is not looking so good. But on the flip side, Twitch has gone with a mentality that I approve of instead of trying to fund this via advertisers, fund it via direct user payment, basically. Not like pay money to use Twitch, but support Twitch and support people, support streamers that you like in order to make the product better. And I think that's a very wise decision on their part, because it allows for creative freedom, whereas advertiser-based income doesn't allow for that. You have to do things that get the advertisers as much interaction as possible, or your business doesn't survive. And that's where YouTube's at right now. That's why they're doing all of this crazy stuff. If they don't make the advertisers happy, if they're not showing the advertisers the numbers they need, they don't make money. They don't survive. So that's why, wow, a lot of trees down here. Oh, duh, I just crossed the St. John's River, so yeah, the wind speed picks up a lot around the river. But anyway, that's the state of that whole ordeal. And for reasons that I understand, reasons that are legitimate, the viewers of live streams, the viewers of Twitch personalities are typically, and I'm not calling anybody out here, I'm not trying to make anyone feel bad, this is just kind of how it is, and like I said, I understand why. Live stream viewers are far more willing to help financially keep their live stream creators and personalities financially solid than they are to help out a YouTube video creator. And I believe a huge part of that is the general feeling is and was that YouTubers make videos to get that YouTube money. And I don't think that everyone fully understands that YouTube money was a very small pool and it dried up very quickly. I think that the general idea is, the general feeling is that people still make videos, they get into making videos to try and make money. It was once the case that if you had a channel like mine that was growing and you know, had a very good following, but you know, it wasn't in the millions of numbers, you could still make a decent you know, amount of money at it. That's not how it is any longer. And anybody getting into it now should have that understanding. At this point, I don't think I would ever give up on making video content, however. I love making video content. It's something that I definitely feel more engaged with. I feel like I can better shape a product out of, and I make things that I'm just truly proud of, versus streaming is more, I think, on the end of a purely entertainment type of deal where you do those streams just to share a good time amongst your peers and your friends and stuff like that, which is cool, and it's an enjoyable thing. It's just very different than I feel video creation is. It's gonna be a long one, I have a feeling. So next topic, F1 2017. I'm doing my first ever single player playthrough of a Codemasters F1 game. I didn't really want to pay full price for another Codemasters game, I'm not gonna lie. I already have some negative feelings towards paying full price for Dirt 4, and I paid full price for 2016, but I felt like I needed to keep the momentum going. There was a lot of requests of viewers of the 2016 series. Are you gonna play 2017? Are you gonna do a solo playthrough or anything like that? And I kind of wanted to challenge myself with it a little bit. I feel like that's not something I've ever really tackled doing, is a solo racing series like that with just AI and not multiplayer. It's a very, very different kind of atmosphere than the iRacing stuff, the Soda Course stuff. It's even different than the Dirt series, really. But I gotta say, I'm enjoying it. I really am enjoying doing that. It's something different. It's something, new for me to try and push myself towards, and it's been very well received. And I think everyone who's tuned into that or joined for that series, I'm honestly a little surprised at how well it was received, and I'm glad that it is. I don't think there's any chance of that kind of content taking over. I now see a lot of pings of like, well, you're gonna do a Forza series, you're gonna do Gran Turismo series, you're gonna do, not really. This is about as far into the arcade racer, the driving versus AI kind of stuff that I really want to dip my toes into at the moment. So although the series is well received, and I'm thankful for that, it may be the solitary foray into that kind of stuff, but you never know. I mean, I never would have thought I would do it at all to begin with years ago, and I'm doing it now, so I guess you just never know what may change in that crazy thing inside of my skull to make me want to do things like this. So you never know. I mean, I did a Forza Horizon series. Now, granted, that was purely in satire, but still. The F1 series, I'm doing that seriously. Like, I'm doing that because I want to do it. And even though Codemasters is great at making frustrating games, it's actually pretty interesting. The negative with that is the fact that I'm not a huge F1 fan anymore. I don't live and breathe for F1. I don't keep up to date with it. And overall, my feelings towards Formula One in general of the past 10 years is overall negative. I feel like there's better time spent in many different forms of racing than there is watching F1. Somewhat to do with the personalities of the series. A lot of my favorites kind of dropped out. A lot to do with the fact I don't really like the modern cars that much. A lot to do with the fact I don't really click with the Formula One community very well. I find the fans to be much more in line with fans of like football or football teams. The sports, rah rah, my team go mentality versus, wow, look at this spectacle of motorsports kind of mentality is a bit of a turnoff for me. And one of the things I was worried about with doing an F1 game series that was focused on F1 and not co-op or anything like that is that my feelings towards F1 wouldn't click well with audiences, and there has been some of that. Like, how do you not understand how these F1 rules work? You're a fool. You don't know F1 at all. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm playing this F1 game. Yes, I've been interested in F1, but I don't follow every little rule change. I don't follow every little driver change and team change and stuff like that. It doesn't mean, though, that I can't enjoy F1 at all. Like, I still follow it, I still keep up with it, and I still enjoy playing the games related to it. Mostly because there's nothing else like it. There is no WEC 2018. There is no IMSA 2015. That doesn't exist. Those kind of games don't exist. It's either sim racing, like iRacing, or nothing. So between all that stuff, that's all that's going on. Well, that's the big things going on here recently. There is still this desire inside of me, this fire to be making in real life car content that I'm still not able to really make on any kind of scale that I would like to. And that's been one of the other minor frustrations for me here recently. However, I think I'm getting more comfortable with that stuff. I think even though I don't do as much as I would like, I feel like I'm at least working pretty hard on shaping my own ability to make that kind of content. So eventually maybe I'll be able to do that on a more grand scale. Although it's not wildly popular, or it's certainly not something that has gained a lot of traction. The Project Supra stuff and the Cones Garage stuff, I'm very proud of that content, and I'm very proud that people are interested in or following along with that stuff. If nothing else, it's just cool to share that part of my life with everybody, and especially since it seems like a series that resonates mostly with the core people that are, fans or patrons, or especially patrons, or just people that are very dedicated to me and my content and the videos that I make. It's really just the core group of people that I know are truly just there to support what I do. I've been having some issues with getting a little drugged down by some overall negativity. I knew bringing F1 on was, and especially on the scale that it is now, 3 to 4 videos a week, was going to bring in negativity. Kind of harping back on what I was talking about, there is just a lot of, probably due to the competitiveness, there's just a lot of negativity that comes along with something like that. There's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of animosity, and some of that shows through the comments for sure, and just the overall feeling from the audience, especially people that aren't as familiar with my content. And I was getting into a rhythm because my channel's small enough, and I, unlike most YouTubers, am not completely burnt out on reading every single comment. And I do. I still get notifications for every single comment, and I try to respond to every single comment. And it's fantastic that a huge percentage of the comments I get are supportive, and that's not something that I think is super common. that's something rather special to our community. But like I said, with bringing F1 on, there's been certainly a surge in the negativity, and between all the things that are going on in real life, in the world, or in my little bubble that kind of suck right now, I was just letting that stuff, latch into my brain and control how I was thinking. And I talked about this on Twitter a little bit. It's something I sat myself down, I took my brain out, and I sat it next to me, and I said, you need to spend your day going through comments, going through posts on Reddit or whatever, and you need to find the positive stuff, or just the helpful stuff that isn't negatively presented, and you need to go through it, read it, respond to it, and do that, like, I say once a day, but really I don't have that many comments and stuff to read, so a couple times a week I just sit down and I go through that stuff. And more than anything, what I'm trying to do is reinforce the value of positive feedback. It's not the way to get attention. You don't get noticed as easily being kind to someone. If you say something controversial, if you say something negative or derogatory, just like I said before, you're going to hook that brain and you're going to get the attention. That's the way it works. And for some people, that's all they desire. For some people, they don't even realize that in their mentality of finding the negatives and finding the controversial, they are also absorbing the attention. They're grabbing the attention away from others. It's not fair to those that are being kind and being nice. So that's where this initiative of mine has been set, to try and make sure that those that are being helpful, being kind, and just overall being positive also get the recognition that they deserve. And here I am being negative about negative comments. I'm a negative commenter. Jeez. Everything's ruined. Everything's ruined. I can start from the beginning now. All right, quick break. I'm going to get myself some food because, you know, got to eat that one meal a day. YouTuber life. Chicken tender's good. Bye, happy. Honestly, I don't think I have any more topics that I wanted to share for this month's Cone on the Road, other than the fact this Lexus is doing 15, 16, 20 miles an hour under the speed limit. Totally not something I was wanting to share. Other than that, I think that's about it. I'm sure I'll kick myself later when I remember the things I wanted to talk about and didn't. Okay. Cool. What was I going to say? Something about... Oh, right. I have one more thing that I need to do before I wrap up this video. I need to find somewhere to park to do it. Well, I guess while I'm finding somewhere to park, just a brief little interlude into Cone the person. Still work at the same place. Yep. Still haven't found a new job. Hasn't happened. Honestly, at the moment, I'm not even looking. Like I said on the last one, I just kind of got burnt out on it, on looking and stuff like that. So I'm just kind of riding that storm out for now. Well, in multiple ways. Solar eclipse was freaking awesome. I've made a whole video. I kind of substituted this month's sort of Cone on the Road for that. But that was a very awesome and awe-inspiring experience. And if you didn't watch that, and you do watch these vlog series, these Cone on the Roads, then you should probably tune into that, because it was pretty cool. I mentioned earlier when I was talking about the internet deal that if push came to shove and I couldn't find any solutions, I would not be completely against, you know, moving to try and find a better internet source. The frustration for me is I've never lived anywhere on my own in my entire life, ever. And I'm approaching very quickly 31 years old. I moved out of my parents' place when I was 20 or 21, somewhere in that range, because I was still in college, but I moved out with a friend of mine, and then, you know, lived with him, lived with others, lived with like 2 or 3 people. I've always just hopped around from place to place, staying in, you know, a spare bedroom in a house. I've never just lived somewhere on my own, and financially, it's just never really been the case that would ever happen. I just bought food. I literally just bought food, and I thought I had lost my wallet. Like, I'm sitting in the seat, and I'm like, something feels weird. Why am I sitting level? My wallet's, of course, sitting over there. You just bought food, you idiot. Oh, brain. Why are you stupid? Anyway, yeah, just never lived anywhere on my own. I came very close to buying a house many years ago. Very, very close. Like, we were approaching closing day before it was yanked out from under me. And I've talked about that in the past, and that was a real turning point for me as far as whether or not I was going to be an adult or not, and I decided not to be. And real hard to never feel like you just have your own place. You never have your own space to do whatever you want. And the thought of moving again and still not having that is not a great feeling, to be honest. But it doesn't look like that's going to change anytime soon. So we'll see what happens. I'll probably just end up, if I end up having to move, there's other factors in play there. I'm starting to feel my welcome be a little less welcome where I'm at currently. So my vagabond self may just have to be on the move again. But we'll see. But it's probably going to be nothing major. Like, there would be no, like, no periods where I was missing or anything like that. It would be one of those pack up in a day and leave kind of deals. Oh, I forgot to mention, I put this in a video. I put this in a comment on the super video. But yes, I'm fine. All my family's fine with the hurricane. Also, Red is fine. The 240 Slagathor, Jonathan ended up moving that car further inland to a safe place for the hurricane. And it is totally okay, even though nobody sees it anymore and it's, you know, tucked away. It is still there. It is still waiting in the wings, waiting for its next evolution. The current update on it is that it has pretty much burnt up its clutch, which is disappointing and encouraging. Disappointing that I have to put a clutch in it. Encouraging that it is making enough power that it burnt up a stage 1 clutch. Okay, I'll take that. But it still needs so much work and upgrades in order to be competitive and usable for autocross again. So sitting on the back burner at the moment. Don't have what it takes to get that done at the moment. But it is good. It's safe. It's waiting, and it always will be. You know, it's a race car, but it's no race to be done. All right. Apparently, I don't have a lot of time because the GoPro battery is dying, which is surprising because I just charged it. But we'll see. But I got a P.O. Box goodie, and if you don't know, I do have a P.O. Box, and that information is available through Patreon. It has previously been available to only patrons, but if you do have something to send in and you would like to send it to the P.O. Box, but you're not a patron, please feel free to send a message to me and I'll get that information for you. This was sent in from Mihai. I know vaguely what's inside of it. Let me change my camera to 720. There we go. Now we got a little bit of a wider angle. You should be able to see it. But this was sent in by Mihai, and Mihai is from Romania. We previously got some cool Romanian treats and a track IR. So we'll see what we have this time. Box open. Ooh, I think I see more Romanian treats. We have Nestle Joe, which kind of looks like it could be an American product. Like, it looks very, very American packaging. They may have gotten a little crushed. They look like crackers. Crackers with cocoa in them. Ooh, we got more of these things. These, like, they're like, I referred to them as like honey smacks, but they're not. This one's pufferin. It's like, what was it? Popped wheat. Yeah, it's like popped wheat with a little bit of sugar bits in it. It looks exactly the same, except it's a different brand. Interesting. 7 days mini croissant with cocoa filling. Interesting. I'll probably try these on camera. I'll probably try and do that at home because it doesn't look like I have enough battery. We've been sent illegal goods to the Americas. I've never actually seen one of these in person. But yeah, it's a Kinder Egg, which it's chocolate with like a toy surprise in the middle. But it's a choking hazard because Americans are stupid. And they don't sell them here. That's funny. But the main thing that I knew about was some tools. These are, oh, they come out of their package? Oh no, they're individually packaged. Interesting, I think. These are a set of wrenches. I'll never get them out. I need a tool to get to my tools. There we go. So these are, and we kind of talked about this, me and Sebula, or Mihai, talked about this particular brand of tools known as Irma. Make some pretty interesting tools, including there was a ratchet that turned into a screwdriver. There's all sorts of cool stuff, but also this kind of wrench. Looks like your normal ratchety wrench. It's got a cool like grip to it. It has a very nice finish that's grippy, but most importantly, the open end. It has a very peculiar design of teeth that helps you grab onto the head in many different degrees. So, you know, when you can't get the head of the wrench onto the bolt, you can move it less to get a grab on it. But also on the back side, it has this part here. And what that does is when you put the wrench on the head of a bolt, usually the open end would just slide right down. But this will catch and stop. So it's more like using a socket, and it doesn't slip off the head. Or if your bolt's a little rusty, not that we have any of those, Supra, this side is of the same millimeter size, but the teeth on it are smaller, very slightly smaller than the 10 mil head that this is. So if it's a little stripped, you can flip it upside down, grab onto it, and hopefully break it free without stripping it. So that's super cool. I thought these were very clever. They're called the Jokers, and I'm sure you will see us use them on Cone's Garage at some point. Let's see. We haven't lost GoPro power yet. This video may end abruptly at any point. Unfortunately, it appears as though our Kinder Egg has melted a wee bit. Oh no, chocolate in the car. But it's fine. It had a long trip and through Florida. Oh geez, it's really going. We'll go into the box at least. In the bag, there we go. I got it in the bag. So I'll try a piece of the egg. But then there's the capsule with the toy. The egg is just disintegrating. All right. It's extremely neutral tasting. What's our surprise, though? It's just like Easter eggs, really. Okay. It's a large booklet of instructions. These are things. I have no idea. It's like a bracelet. Oh, there's a rubber band or something. Yeah. So here's the bracelet. Right? Sure. I might not be smart enough for these Romanian toys. Okay. Is my wrist small enough? I have very small wrists. Mwah, mwah. My wrist is too big still. I guess I'm not a child anymore. That's sad. Oh, it's just barely. Yeah, you're supposed to be able to put this through. Here, I'll just do it on the thingamajig. Oh, I see. Yeah, you wear it like a bracelet like this. Or if you put it through just the end, now it looks like a dragon's fire. As expected, ran out of battery, but Cone not on the road, but here you go. There's the toy inside with no bracelet, but it's in the instructions to do it this way too, so it worked. Totally worked. Mini croissant. Oh, I didn't expect that at all. It's actually bread. Like, I thought it was going to be like a hard candy, like, representation of a croissant, but it's like an actual croissant. How many preservatives does this have in it? Am I allergic to anything in this? We'll never know. I mean, I'm not gonna read any of that. Huh. Alright. I don't know how they do it, but it tastes like bread with cocoa in it. This whole thing has to be made of preservatives or something. Like, how do you get the bread to not just go stale? How long are they good for? Infinity. That's how long they're good for. I've already tried one of these. They're delicious. This bag will be gone soon. But these, the Joes, are new to me. The fact that they're called Joe leads me to believe they're probably like something you would normally have with coffee or tea or something, but just says cocoa. Well, should be good. I'm not sure that looks like its representation. It's like a very, very airy Kit Kat bar. Very airy. The flavor is like I said, it's like Kit Kat, but the texture is very bizarre. Good though. And I grabbed an example bolt so you can see what I mean about how the head of the bolt doesn't slide through. It's pretty cool. But then, if you flip it over, see that it's real tight on there. Now this is a very old bolt, but the teeth really struggle. You'd really have to push it on there. It's going to be great for a bolt that the head's like corroded or worn down or stripped out. Very cool. Thank you very much, Mihai or Sebula. Very, very neat. Something that I'm sure you could order and get shipped here, but it's certainly not available here. So these will get a lot of use. And thank you for the Romanian treats once again. For some reason, they're much better than our treats. I don't know why. I like very simple foods, and these all seem to be very like, I don't know, they're simple in their tastes. They are what they are, and there's no flavor powder and crazy stuff on them. It's just good. That's it for Code on the Road this month. Thank you as always for watching. We'll see you next time.